Hello, my Algebra 1 students. This is your favorite math teacher, Mrs. Martinez, and I'm going to go over your Unit 1 test review. Okay, so question 1 should look a lot like what we covered during class. So we can already see that the lowest x value is somewhere around -3, and the highest x value is somewhere around +1. We can see the lowest y value is somewhere around -4, and the highest y value is somewhere around 0. Okay, so if we take a look at this, I can see it's asking function or not a function. So this one is a function. The reason why is it passes the vertical line test. So at any point, I could do a vertical line here, 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 wherever I want, and it does not touch it twice. Okay, so this is a continuous function. That's fine. We'll just highlight it. Continuous. Okay, so we know it's continuous because it is a line that connects, and there at no point do you need to lift your pencil. To draw it. Okay, so the domain is the lowest x value. So if you see over here, we have a open circle. Okay, so my lowest x value is -3. Because it is continuous, we're going to write it with inequalities. That's less than x. We only put the less than or equal then if there's at least one value of x that could have been, or y of that number. There's nothing along this yellow dotted line that could have been a -3, so it has to be an open circle is the only one, so it's only a less than. Okay, continuing on, the biggest x value is 1, and this right here is a closed dot. Okay, so you can equal that value. For the y value, the lowest value right here is 4, and we could have used either this closed dot here, we could just stick with that right there. And then right here, that has a value of 0, 0, so y is equal to 0. Because y is equal to 0, that's why we can make it less than or equal to. I know there's an open circle up here on the left-hand side, but as long as there's one value that's equal, that's all we need. Okay, moving on to number 2, it is a function. So with these, I would probably just check each of the points, right? And none of them fail the vertical line test, so we're pretty good there. It's easier to erase, I don't know. Okay. So that makes it a function. And because they're dots, they are discrete. So for my domain, the lowest x value is -4. So -4 goes down here, -2 goes right there. And then going to the right, I see there's a value right here at 1. And then right here, I see there's a value at 3. I'm going to do a different color so you can see the difference of x versus y. But the lowest y point I have right here is at -2. The next one is at -1. The next one is at 2. The next one's at 3. All right, so taking a look at the next one, determining whether or not it's a function, we need to know if there's any duplicating x values, and there is not. So it is a function, no duplicating x's. And really it's not just the duplicating x's, it's having the same x value, but having a different y or f of x value. Okay, anytime you see a table, it's going to be discrete. The domain, all you have to do is list them least to greatest, and lucky for us, they are already listed least to greatest. So remember, domain is x values, And the range is going to be the y values. Also, again, least to greatest. This one we're not as lucky. All right. All right, so this one would not be a function because if I did a vertical line, it would hit the vertical line 2 times. So this one fails the vertical line test. Okay, this is continuous. You do not need to lift up your pencil to draw that circle. Okay, so this is continuous, which means we knew our inequalities. So the lowest x value is going to be over here, highest x value is over here. So for the domain, we are going the least value is -2 to 2. There is no arrows, there is no open circles, so as long as it doesn't have those, it's just less than or equal to. I know there's not a dot specifically, but you actually don't need a dot, okay? You just have to know that there is a value right here and a value right here. All right, so similar for the y. Okay, taking a look over at number 5. So if I take a look right here, I can see that this value of 6 goes 2 ways. So that is not a function. X equals 6 duplicates. Okay, the next question is it continuous or discrete? So the answer is that it is discrete because it's mapping. Whenever you see mapping, it's going to be discrete. All right, my domain is all my x values. Luckily, they're already listed in order, so you just have to rewrite them. So 3, 6, 12, 18. And then the next one is 5, 7, 9, 10. All right, number 6. So the lowest value I can have is 0. So when x is 0, it is actually along the x and y axis. The highest value of 6 I can have, the highest value of x I can have is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and notice that it's a less than, not less than or equal to. That's going to come in later. I'm going to do different colors for all 4 so they stand out. All right, lowest range value is -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -4. And the highest value is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So essentially you need to stay within this box. This has to be closed, and this side has to be open. So I'll do some type of closed dot or circle right here so you can see that x is 0, the y is -4. Then I could go up to here and do an open circle. Now it could be a straight line, could be something squiggly, doesn't matter as long as it's continuous. We know it's continuous because our domain and range is given in the form of an inequality. All right, continuing forward. So for this one, there should be a 4 right here, but that's okay. And so what it wants to know is if you have 1 pancake, that costs 50 cents. So if you had 0 pancakes, that would cost $0. If you had 1 pancake, we already said that cost 50 cents. But if you had 2 pancakes, it'd be 2 times 50 cents, and that gives you $1. Okay, and then you would continue forward. 3 pancakes is $1.50. 4 pancakes is $2. 5 pancakes would be $2.50. Okay. So this is saying h of x is -2 to 2, sorry, let me repeat that one more time. I was trying to fix my pens. H of x is negative 2x plus 7, and j of x is 5x minus 3. So if we take a look right here, I have h, which means I'm going to be using the equation on top, which is h of x right here. If you look inside my parentheses, you can see the value 3, which means your x value is 3, and you're going to replace 3 in that equation. So let's see how that looks on paper. Well, digitally for me, paper for you. Okay, so it's going to be negative 2 times 3 plus 7. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 plus 7. That gives me a value of 1. You could also place this in your, oh wait, hold on, I made a mistake. Back it up. This is a negative 3, this needs to be negative. That makes it positive 6 plus 7, which gives me, hold on, I'm having technical difficulties with the thing. I did the last video for my honors class on my camera, and so now I'm trying with the iPad to see if it's easier. So bear with me as I go through some technical difficulties. Okay, so we can see right here, the parentheses is here, so I'm going to replace the x value here. Basically what this means is x equals negative 2, and I'm going to put it into this j of x function. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite the function, and instead of writing x, I'm going to write my x value, which is negative 2. And then once I solve it out, I get negative 13. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the last one. So we see j is 5, so it'd be 5 times 5 minus 3. And that gives us 25 minus 3, and that gives us 22. So when you're going through these, they're actually, they're kind of the same steps over and over. The most important thing to do is make sure that you look at the first letter. That's going to tell you what function. And then the second thing to do is to look at the parentheses. That's going to tell you your x value, okay? You're actually going to do the same here. It has all of your x values right here. So I have an x value of 2, 0, and 3. So it's almost like above, but it's not giving us the number in the parentheses. It's giving us in a list, which means we need to find g of negative 2, g of 0, and g of 3. Okay, so I'm going to plug in each one of these into the x value right here. So 4 times negative 2 minus 5, 4 times 0 minus 5, 4 times 3 minus 5. Okay, first one is negative 8 minus 5 gives me negative 13. 0 minus 5 gives me negative 5. And 12 minus 5 gives me 7. So you're going to want to order these least to greatest. So the smallest number is negative 13, and then negative 5, and the biggest number I have is 7. Okay. So now I'm going to take a look at table number 12. So we can see it says f of 1. That means my x value is 1. So when I go when x is 1, I can see my y value, or my f of x value, is negative 1. So your answer is going to be right here. Oops, I didn't mean to erase that part. I meant to get the highlighter. Actually, let me do it the other way. I'll highlight this one, and this will be a different color. Okay. Let me get a different highlight color. So let's say I have 4. I'm going to go to 4 right here. Oh, that looks nice. And then it goes over to see a y or f of 4 value of 2. So your answer is 2. So essentially when you look in the parentheses, that's your x value. And then you can determine what your y value is from there. Okay, so if we take a look at the next one, it says create a discrete graph that does not represent a function. So discrete means dots. It could be anywhere. You just need 2 dots that would fail the vertical line test. And then just whatever other random dots. As long as you have enough dots, you have 2 dots that fall along the same x value, just like they do right here, it would fail the vertical line test. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So the question asks, how many following situations are continuous and how many of the situations are discrete? So how many pets each person has, those are whole numbers. We don't have half of puppies. That's discrete. Time and gallons or liters of gas is continuous because you can have partials. So this is whole only. This one's decimals, okay. Chairs in the room. I don't know about you, but I can't have a decimal with counting my chairs. You can't have like 2.2 chairs. So that is going to be discrete. It's whole only. And time, that can have partials, that can have decimals, so that's considered continuous. Okay, taking a look at number 15, it asks f of 5. So if you take a look at 5 right here, you can see if I go up to the y value that it's right here, and that's when my y value is 4. Okay. F of -2, so I'm going to go to -2, go up, and I see right there my value at -2 is going to be 2. You can see that because it's here, it goes here. Okay. Oop, I went too far to erase. All right, f of 0, so it doesn't really go anywhere, it's just 0, 0. So the x value is 0 and the y value is 0. This is a function. It passes the vertical line test. It is continuous. You don't need to lift your pencil to draw. Okay, so the last question has to do with a swimming pool. Hopefully this will fit with, it's not leaning to stay up. I guess I could lower this maybe. Oops, sorry guys. Like I said, first time doing this on the iPad. Okay, that's something. Okay, so let's take a look. So it wants to know your domain and range. So domain is time. That's the input. So the lowest value you can have is 0 minutes. And then in order to figure out the max amount of time, we'd have to calculate. So it would be 50 minutes divided by 5 gallons per minute. That gives us a total of 10 minutes. And then I'll write that down on the side in just a second. Okay, so, so the minimum time, we can't have anything less than 0, but we could have 0. So when it first starts, we're at the minimum time of 0. For the maximum time, we have 50 gallons divided by 5 gallons per minute. And it gives us a total of 10 minutes. If you'd like an explanation on how the gallons cancel and then minutes become your unit, I'd be more than happy to explain on a separate video, or if you just want to ask before the test or something. Okay, let me choose a different color. Our range is our output, which is the amount of water. And we already know over here the most amount it could hold is 50, And obviously if there's no water, there would be 0. You can't have negative water, so that kind of gets in the way. And we'll do something. Oh, that looks old. Sure, that's fine. Okay, so the minimum amount of water is 0 gallons. The max amount of water is 50 gallons. Perfect. I appreciate you looking over this video and watching me go through the entire review. I hope your studying goes well and that you do well on the test.